Lamentations is a difficult book. It was written by the prophet Jeremiah, and in it we discover that all of the dire prophecies that he has made that we've been reading over the past days have become reality. It is a book of incomprehensible suffering and pain. And in it, the prophet Jeremiah asks some very, very difficult questions. Chapters 1, 2, and 4 begin with the phrase in Hebrew, how could this be? How could all of this devastation have happened, Lord? And he does offer some answers. Interestingly enough, he doesn't always blame the sins of the people, but he talks about the responsibility of the false prophets, those that came against him when he tried to tell the people the truth, those that lied to the people and told them they were fine, that no devastation was coming. And then the devastation came. And Jeremiah paints very, very vivid pictures of that devastation. Jerusalem portrayed as a devastated widow weeping in the night, her cheeks stained with tears, her eyes hollow with pain, crying out for consolation, and no consolation comes. And he speaks of the children who once lived in plenty, now with their skin blackened by their horrible conditions, their tongues cleaving to the roofs of their mouths with thirst, crying out for food, and no one to feed them. Their mothers who love them, having to make the unconscionable decision of which child to sacrifice that the other children might live. The priests and the Levites murdered in the sanctuary. Young men and old men taken into slavery or slaughtered in the street. And Jerusalem, God's city, the joy of the whole earth, is an ash heap. And those ashes are soaked with the blood of her sons and daughters. And the temple, the beautiful temple, the envy of the nations, where God's children came by the thousands to worship him, now lies in ruins and is the habitation of wild animals. And that destruction of the temple, the culmination of the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem, history tells us, happened on the 9th day of the month of Av in the Jewish calendar. The 9th of Av, or as it's known in Hebrew, Tisha B'Av. It's a day that's still very significant in the Jewish calendar, when Jewish people all over the world mourn not just what happened in Jeremiah's time, but countless other times through history when tragedy befell the Jewish people on this very day, the 9th of Av. When the spies came out and made their evil report, when the first temple and the second temple were destroyed, the beginning of the Crusades, when thousands of Jewish people lost their lives, the expulsion of the Jews from Great Britain in the 13th century and Spain in the 15th century, the beginning of World War I, where we find the seeds of World War II and the Holocaust, or in the Holocaust, Jewish communities loaded on trains and sent to the ovens of Auschwitz. And in more recent history, the disengagement from Gaza. All of these things and others on the 9th of Av. And so for countless generations, the Jewish people have chosen 3 weeks out of a year to mourn. And during that time, they do nothing that can bring them joy. No bathing. For men, no shaving. Some communities don't even wear shoes. No laughing. No loving. No cheerful greetings for one another in the house or on the street. And those 3 weeks culminate on Tisha B'Av, when those Jewish people come together in their communities and they read the book of Lamentations and selected verses from the book of Jeremiah. And like the prophet, they mourn, they weep, they wail, and they ask the difficult question, how, God, how could this happen? And then, as the prophet Jeremiah does in the 3rd chapter of Lamentations, they remember God's mercy. If it wasn't for God's mercy, the Jewish people would have been destroyed long ago. And with that memory, they take hope, great hope, in the God of their forefathers, the God who has told them he loves them with an everlasting love, the God who has told them he has engraved them on the palm of his hand, the God who told Jeremiah the day would come when he would gather his people from all of the nations and he would bring them home. And they remember their God has not forsaken them. And the faithfulness of that God, no matter what might be on the horizon, is as sure as the sunrise every morning when those mercies are renewed. Am Yisrael Chai.